Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. Well, today is another incredibly exciting day for me because DJI just released their latest drone, the brand new A.P.A.S. And I couldn't be more excited than I am right now to tear open this box, charge up these batteries, and get this guy up in the air. But I thought I would take a minute, slow down a little bit, and unbox it together so you can share in that experience. Because even though you might know what components are included with the kit, I mean, you can read that online, there's something magical about taking the drone out of the case for the first time and holding it in your hands. I guess it's a lot like when you see your baby for the first time. Okay, maybe it's not that cool, but if you're a nerd like me, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to do an unboxing. Now, I fully understand there's probably 800 unboxing videos on the internet at this point about this particular drone. I know there have been leaks for the last couple of months. We've seen FCC filings and pictures and rumors. I think somebody even bought the drone a couple of days ago before it was released and did an unboxing video. So if you're totally over the whole unboxing thing, there's a timeline below where you can skip ahead, but I promise you it's going to be a way cooler unboxing than all the other ones you've looked at. But anyway, after the unboxing, I'll take a closer look at all the components because anytime I'm buying a product, I really want to understand everything that's included with the kit, and more importantly, how it fits together. What clicks on what plugs in where, can I charge it, do I need an extra cable? So the closer look section will give you a real good feel for what the drone provides. I'll give you some specifications because DJI did some pretty magical things with this drone and the hardware, the technology, and the software that really put it ahead of a lot of other drones on the market. And it's really important you understand what those changes are when you're making a decision if this drone's right for you or not. And then I'll come back with some final thoughts of first impressions, if you will, of what I think about the drone, because I fly all the DJI products that are out there today. I fly all the drones, but I think in a lot of ways, just first impressions of this product, before I even open up the box, lead me to believe that this thing is really a combination of all the best of technology that's out there today. So this is a great summer for flying. We're in the springtime here in the Northeast and the weather's starting to turn warm. The birds are chirping, there's leaves on the trees, so it's the perfect time to be buying a drone. I want to help you understand if this is the right one for you. So let's get into the unboxing first because I'm doing way too much talking and I can't wait to get in the box because this unboxing portion stands between me and flying this drone. All right. So the box itself is a typical DJI box. Now I'm going to be unboxing the Fly More combination. I'm a big fan of Fly More combinations because when you buy the drone, if it's your first drone, you're going to buy it as a basic package and think you're saving some money. But I promise you, 2 weeks after flying the drone, you're going to need extra batteries. And if you buy extra batteries, you're going to need a way to charge them. So the hub is really beneficial because it allows you to charge multiple batteries at the same time. There are other things in there like filters that you're going to want to use if you're flying for any length of time. So the Fly More combinations in general are more money, but they're less money when you add up all the accessories that come as part of it, so they're a better value. So for me, every drone I buy, I'm going to buy the Fly More combination because I want the extra stuff that comes with it. But there's a basic kit as well that's a little less expensive than this one. All right, so let me open up the box now. In typical DJI fashion, they've got a beautiful picture on the front, white box, logo on the side, a collection of all the stuff that's in there on the back, a lot of certifications and other things. And let me get inside the box because everybody wants to see what this drone looks like, me included. All right, so that's it. I slit those two. It should open up. Just shake it a little bit. Maybe it'll come out. And let's see what's inside. Ooh, this is nice. This is really nice. All right, so it's a different style here. So we've got a case, and obviously the drone and some other stuff's inside the case, but it's nice to give you a nice little package like this to carry it around because the other thing with drones is you're going to be out in the field, there's going to be a lot of dirt and grass and all kinds of stuff out there that's going to want to destroy your drone. So having a case like this, you can put it in, take it with you, you know everything is organized, it's going to be there when you need it, and it protects it from the elements. So let me get the case out. It's got a nice little DJI logo. Whoa, look out. It's got a nice little DJI logo down there. So there's the case. And at the bottom, there's a little accessory drawer down here. That's pretty cool. Now that's different for DJI. They normally have like some black boxes and some white boxes, but this looks like a different packaging concept in a lot of ways. And what's this on the bottom? Whoa, it's a quick start guide. So that is pretty important because if you're opening the drone and you've never flown one before, there's a quick start guide that tells you everything you need to know to get started. So a lot of diagrams in there. And here's the accessory pack. Now, I'm not going to open the accessory pack because we all want to see what the drone looks like. So I'm going to tear into the drone first. So let me open up the case here. Oh boy, there's a zipper someplace. There we go. And again, the case is nice. It's a very like weather resistant material on the outside. Looks like a lot of pockets on here too. Boy, there's a pocket in the front. That's where I'm going to put my ham sandwich like I did with the last one. Let's see what's inside here. This is the moment. This is... For a nerd, this is Christmas right here. I can't say it. I can't say it enough because I've opened 100 drones at this point, but the butterflies are in my stomach right now before I get the first look at this product are having me smile and giddy and just crazy here. So here we go. Get ready. Okay, so there's the drone. There's an accessory box there. Looks like the controller. Now, the controller's the same as the Mavic Air 2 and the Mini 2. I'll talk about some of the OcuSync differences at the end because there's a few cool things about that, but there's the drone. Now, I can't get excited yet because it's the same drone as the Mavic Air 2. But when I pull it out, I know there are going to be different things about it. So just give me a second. All right. So right off the bat, oh man, I want to fly this like now. I don't want to wait. Right off the bat, there's 2 additional sensors on the top, and there's a beautiful 1-inch sensor on the front. So what you've got here is, again, like state of the art as far as technology goes. So you might think, well, gee, Rick, there's sensors on the front. These are only slightly facing the top. Like, what does that really give you? For starters, you've got 4-direction protection for crash avoidance, right? So it's going to sense obstacles below, front, left, and right, and back. And why do you have these at an angle? Why aren't they straight up like this? And the reason for that, if you think about it, is when you're flying fast, the drone's like this. And when the drone's like this, these 2 front sensors are facing the ground. So if there's a big honking tree in front of you, you could see it up to a certain point, but these now faced forward. So when you're moving fast, these are your forward sensors as well as your above sensors. And there's a field of view above and forward and left and right. But okay, so 2 new sensors and then a 1-inch sensor on the front. This is the latest, most sophisticated sensor that DJI has ever put on what I'll call a mid-sized drone like this. Until now, these have been on the Mavic 2 products, the Pro and the Zoom. Actually, the Pro had the 1-inch sensor on it, but unbelievable. 5.4K recording on this thing. So I'll get into that in the specifications. All right, let me open this guy up because, man, oh man, this is a beautiful drone. All right, so again, what's so cool about this is that what you're getting here is you're getting a small, compact drone that fits into something that's, geez, I don't know, 2 pairs of sneakers take up more room in my bag than that. You get a small drone with a 1-inch sensor that'll fly 12 kilometers. Not 10 kilometers, but 12 kilometers, so it's going to fly 7.5 miles away from you. Don't do that. You need to be in visual line of sight. But being able to fly that far means you got a rock-solid signal in close. But the beauty of this thing is the whole point of buying a drone like this is to put it up in the air and enjoy the beautiful photography. You're basically buying a flying camera, so the better the camera, the better the images. All right, so there's the drone. Enough of that. Let's get into some of the other stuff. All right, so in here, what's this? Oh, it's the charging hub. All right, so if you've used this drone before, or you've seen the Mavic Air 2, there's a charging hub that allows you to actually charge 3 cells at the same time. Now, when I say at the same time, I don't mean simultaneously. It won't start charging all 3 at the same time. What it'll do is check all 3 batteries to see which one needs the least amount of charge. It'll charge that one first, move on to the other 2. So it's a sequential charger, not a parallel charger. All right, so there's a big box of accessories and the controller, and that's all there is inside of it. And there's another little flap up top here where you can put other stuff. So pretty cool. Great, nice little case to include with it. All right, let's take a look at the controller. That's next. Now, if you've flown the Mavic Air 2 or the Mini 2, you're probably used to this controller. Now, one thing I'll tell you, and I'll get into it in the specs a little bit, if you read those specs closely, the drone's based on O3, which is their OcuSync 3 technology. They're shortening the names on everything. The last one was the Mavic Air 2. This one's just the Air 2. They're going to have a Mavic 3. I don't know. We'll see what's coming with that. But anyway, this is the Air 2. O3 is the new OcuSync 3. They're not going to call it OcuSync 3. It's O3. But what's interesting is this operates on OcuSync 2. The drone, the video from the drone is on O3. Think about that a second. What does O3 work with? Wait a minute, the goggles from the FPV work on OcuSync 3. Could it be possible to get video back from this to the goggles? I don't know, we're gonna test it, we'll see. But I think it's cool that this is OcuSync 2, because the other thing that I've got to test is, if this is OcuSync 2, the smart controller's OcuSync 2, would make sense to me that I could fly it with the smart controller and get the video through the goggles. And again, I'm speculating here because I haven't flown the thing. You can see I'm just opening the box, but that would be really cool. All right, so there's the controller. We already opened the accessory box there. No, we didn't. I'll do that in a second. Let me tear this one open. All right, so in here, I've got 2 batteries, it looks like, on this side, and a charging hub, and what else? Piece of cardboard. All right, so you get the charging brick, and on the charging brick, again, I'll take a closer look at it, but you basically plug this cord into the wall, you plug this into the battery, you can charge 1 battery at a time, but since you got the hub, you'll connect it up to the hub, you'll slap 3 batteries on there and charge those batteries. You also have a USB-A connection right there that you can use another cable to charge your controller or use it to charge your phone, so that's pretty cool. And then there are 2 additional batteries that are the same size battery that are in the drone, and again, that's the advantage of the Fly More combination, is that you're getting all these extra accessories, because I promise you, once you put this drone up in the air, 31 minutes isn't going to be long enough. You're going to fly 31 minutes and go, man, I wish I had a second battery. If you buy the Fly More combo, you get 2 extra batteries. One other cool thing they built in, and they started this on earlier versions of the drone, and I think, again, this is what makes DJI such an incredibly cool engineering company, is they're thinking about, what can I do with the drone when I'm out in the field? Well, one of the things you've got to worry about is not having enough power. So if you're flying for a couple of hours and you've got a battery that's still got 20% in it because you landed it, they include this little USB adapter that plugs on the battery. You basically snap it on the battery and put it on backwards. of course. You snap it on the battery, and once you snap it on the battery, Rick, snap it on the battery already. No, I am putting it on backwards. All right, so you snap it on the battery like this. Once it's on the battery, you turn the battery on just by tapping it and double tapping it again. Once that battery powers up, those two USB-A ports right there can charge something else. So you've got sort of a Swiss Army knife of connectivity here to charge a bunch of different things. All right, let's see what's in this last accessory box. There's got to be some props someplace because I can't fly it without props. So let me pull this guy out. Oh, nice little drawer there. All right, right on the top, two manuals. That's the full manual. This is an accessory guide. There's going to be a lot of accessories out for it. Oh, by the way, we sell accessories. I've got a link below to the Drone Valley site. I've already got accessories we've tested with this drone based on the specifications. Now I'm going to take it out and fly it today, so maybe wait a day and I'll have that updated with all the stuff that works with this drone. But I can tell you for starters, the battery's exactly the same specifications. So both our car charger, our 3-in-1 car charger, our single car charger, and our home charger work fine with it. All right, so inside here, there's a ton of propellers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got 12 propellers. I need 4 here, which means I've got 8 extra propellers, 2 extra sets of props, which is great because I guarantee you're going to run into something. You're going to catch a tree branch or something and nick a propeller. Plus, if you don't, you want to change them on a regular basis anyway. Okay, a really nice set. Looks like ND filters here, which is great. So if you're flying in sunlight or around the ocean or over snow, you definitely want to have some filters that you can use to knock down on that. So I want to open that in a second. All right, so there's a USB to a USB-C cable right here. So again, this is perfect because this cable can plug into the side of the power brick. The USB-C can plug into the controller, which is a USB-C charging port, so good on them for including that. We've also got an extra set of joysticks. There should be a set in the bottom. Yep, there's a set of joysticks down here. You'll basically pull these out, put those on the gimbals for the joysticks right there, and you're good to go. And that extra set's important because, again, flying as much as I do, I promise you, and I'm a pretty experienced flyer, I've lost 30 of these joysticks because when you take them off in the field and you're excited and your hands are a little bit sweaty, you're going to drop them. And normally they'll drop right in the tallest piece of grass in the area, and then you'll be down there for an hour trying to find them. So having extra joysticks are really nice. And then they include a couple of extra cables because with the controller, the way you'll mount your phone, if you haven't flown this drone before or seen this controller before, this is their Gen 2 controller. You're basically going to put your phone in here or a small tablet in there, and then there's connections on the back where you disconnect this and connect it up to your phone. Now the one that's in there right now is the Apple connection, the Lightning, and that'll plug into the side of your phone. But they also include a USB-C and a micro. So if you're flying with an Android phone, you've got plenty of connectivity and you basically just pull this one out and pop one of those in to match up with your phone. It's pretty straightforward. And that's pretty much it for the unboxing. Now, again, I'm so excited to see this drone because I've been waiting for it. I've been salivating over the specifications that came out about it. That 1-inch sensor is a game changer for this quad. I guarantee you, when you put this thing up with the larger sensor and the larger, 1-inch sensor size and the larger number of pixels is really going to make a big difference in your video. And I'll talk about that a little bit at the end of this clip. Now, if you stay tuned, I'm going to take a closer look at everything and sort of show you where things plug in and all the rest of it. And then I'll give you, again, my first impressions of the drone because I fly a lot of these products. I really like the DJI gear. I fly them all. I like them all for different reasons. But I think this one, the A.P.A.S, is a drone to own right now at this point in the summer if you're out there and you haven't flown before. So stay tuned and we'll get into the closer look next. I'll start off with some of the smaller components included with the kit. This charger can be used to charge your drone batteries, your phone, and your controller. On the one end, you'll find a port that matches up with the included cable, and this will be different depending on where in the world you live. Now, I live in the US, so we have a dual prong outlet. This end plugs into any standard wall outlet. The other end plugs right into the charger. And the minute you add power to this, you have 2 outputs, this connector, which is set up for your batteries, and a full-size USB-A right here that you can use to charge your controller or your phone. And this is keyed, so when you're connecting up to a battery, you can't actually put it on backwards. It only goes on one way, so you'll connect it up to the battery, plug in the charger, and start charging the battery. Now, the way you'll know the battery's charging is the minute you add power, this will start charging, and these LEDs will come on. There's 4 LEDs right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each of those represent 25% charge. So if you plug this in, and this one's lit and this one's flashing, it means you're between 25 and 50% of a charge. If these two are solid and that one's on, blinking, you're moving closer to 75% charge. Once it's fully charged, all of these will turn off. So that's a great way to know exactly how much charge your battery has. Now, in addition to that, I mentioned there's a USB-A port right there. You can use any standard cable to charge your phone or some other device out of that, but DJI includes this USB-A to USB-C cable, which is perfect because the USB-A end can plug into the charger, the USB-C end can plug into the bottom of your controller, and that's how you'll charge your controller. If you've got some of the newer Android phones, you can use the USB-C to charge those. You'll also find two more connections here that are used with the controller, and these are the connections you'll make between the controller and your phone or your tablet. The controller has a USB-C connector on it. The other end can either be a USB-C or a micro USB, and they include all three. It comes with the lightning connector on the actual controller itself, but if you're using a different style phone, just pop that one off and pop those on. All right, so in addition to charging the batteries individually, if you bought the Fly More combo, you got this beautiful charging hub. And the way that works is you'll plug the connector, instead of plugging it into a battery, you'll plug it into the hub like that and plug this into the wall. And then you can actually take these batteries one at a time and actually put them right on the charging hub like that. And as I mentioned before, it'll take up to 3 batteries, but the charger's not powerful enough to charge all of these at the same time. It only has enough current to charge 1 battery. So there's intelligence built into this hub that makes it smart enough to know when you connect up a bunch of batteries, which of the batteries need the least amount of charge, and it'll take all the energy that's being sent to that hub and direct it to that battery to charge that as fast as possible, safely, but as fast as possible. Once that's fully charged, it then redirects that current to the next battery. So it's going to kind of walk through your batteries based on their level of charge. I think that's a smart thing to do because it allows you to get back up in the air as quickly as possible. All right, so next you're going to find an adapter for the batteries. And again, I called this brilliant before, but I think the engineers at DJI are really thinking it through. So let's pretend for a second you've got a battery in the field that you've flown with for a while, and it's down to 50% or 25% charge, and you need to charge your phone. Well, you can use this with the battery. You basically just snap it on the battery like that. The minute you snap it on the battery and turn the battery on, both of these USB-A ports right here become live, and you can connect up a phone or your controller or any device really that charges over USB to either one of those ports and charge it from what's left in this battery, the residual power. So that's a nice little touch. You'll also find a set of joysticks. There's a spare set of joysticks included. I mentioned before, you're going to lose your joysticks, so keep these handy because when you drop one, you got extras here. You'll find 4 propellers in there. I should say you'll find 12 propellers in there. You'll need 4 of them for the drone to fly. And you'll find that there's either A or B propellers. But once you take them out of the package, how do you tell the difference between them? Well, it really comes down to this orange ring right there. Orange ring, no orange ring. And I'll show you in a second, when you put them on the drone, you want to match this up to the motors that have orange on them, and this one to the motors that don't. So they give you 12 propellers in the Fly More combination, which means you have a full set to fly with, and 2 spare sets when you run into something to change them out. The last thing they included is this ND filter kit. Now, I tried to open this before, and to me, it sure looks like you lift this end of it up and it pops open, but it turns out, nope, that's not the case. They built a locking mechanism right there. You flip that open, and the door opens the other direction. Okay, so I had a little trouble with it. But anyway, in there are 4 beautiful ND filters, an ND4, an ND8, an ND16, and an ND32, and you'll use these on sunny days or days where you're flying over water, or, you know, if you've got maybe snow out there where it's highly reflective. And if you spend time in the air, try experimenting with these because you'll find they have a huge difference in the way your video comes out when you're done. All right, so now we'll move on to the controller, and then I'll take a look at the drone after that. The controller is exactly the same as the Mavic Air 2 controller. I call it the Gen 2 controller. The Gen 1 was used on a lot of the Mavic products prior to this. It's a black controller where the arms swing out the bottom and the controller actually holds your phone at the bottom. This one holds your phone at the top, but I like it an awful lot. It's really well balanced. You're able to handle it really well. It's got rubber on the bottom so it doesn't slip out of your fingers. The joysticks fall right under your thumb, so everything's where you need it. And after you fly with it a little while, you get a feel for where the buttons are. Now, as far as the joysticks go, these are removable joysticks. You can pull them off. They store on the bottom of the unit right there. So if you're tight for space or you're throwing it in a backpack, you might want to get them off so you don't bend them up. I don't tend to pull them off. I leave them on because I got a little extra room in my case, and I've got fumbly fingers, and when I get out in the field, a lot of times I'll drop them and then I'll spend an hour trying to find them. On the bottom of the unit, you'll find a USB-C connection. That's used for charging the device. To turn the unit on, that's the power button. You'll tap it and hold it, just like that, and then hold it. It'll cycle up through its LEDs, letting you know what the current charge is on the product. Right now, I've got about a 75% charge. That's flashing because the controller's looking for the drone, and it's letting you know, hey, I'm on. Where's the drone? Let me know. So once it finds a drone, they'll stay on solid. In the center, you've got a choice of flight modes, either cinematic, normal, or sport. Cinematic is a little slower, so it's sort of tripod mode, we used to call it, where it's got a very cinematic, smooth turning and panning with the unit. Normal is where I fly mostly. Sport mode puts it at what I call ludicrous mode, where it'll fly incredibly fast. It's not the greatest mode for filming, because everything's happening too fast to really appreciate it. But what I use sport mode for a lot is getting out to a target, then moving it back to normal mode or cine mode to actually film it. That'll get you out to your target quickly and get you back quickly too. So if you're flying quite a distance away, throw it in sport mode, get out there quick, go back to normal mode and do your filming. You'll find 2 other buttons here. This button switches between video and picture, and this is a function button that you can set in the controller software to decide what you want to do with that. Now, you can set that up to be anything you want almost. There's a ton of choices. I tend to use that for 90-degree gimbal tilt, so if I hit it once, the gimbal goes down. If I hit it again, the gimbal comes back up to full position. The button on the right is your return to home button. So if you hold that for more than 5 seconds, it'll instigate a return to home. The drone will stop whatever it's doing, spin around and fly back and land exactly where it took off. But it's got a dual function. I talked about this in another clip. If you hold it, if you tap it, I should say, it'll go into pause mode, which means if the drone's flying and you get panicked, hit it, tap it, it'll stop the drone in midair. So it's not going to crash into a tree. So if you're flying and it looks like you're getting close to something, use that button. All right, on the top, you got two controls up here. This is a control for the gimbal, for the tilt of the gimbal. So going down and going up is over here. And again, you can set the speed of that in the software. So make sure that you watch some of my older videos. I talk about some of the settings that are best for cinematic moving up and down. Over here is the start and stop, record, and picture button. And then finally, here's the part of the controller that holds your phone. It's spring-loaded. It'll handle all the bigger phones that are on the market today very easily. And then you'll make the connection to that phone right here through these connectors on the back. And the way you'll do that is just unplug it and then connect it up to your phone. Now, like I said before, the lightning connector's in there now, but you can use the other cables that are included with the kit for the Android, either micro USB or USB-C. When you're done with it, you just spin it around like that, put it back inside, and then close this guy up on top of it. So it gives you a real nice economy of not having to worry about losing a cable. And that's pretty much it for the controller. Oh, there's some ventilation on the back as well. This thing gets a little bit warm when it's running because it's running OcuSync 2, and that ventilation gives you ability to get that heat outside of it. Now we'll take a closer look at the drone, and I've currently got it in its folded position, and I'll show you how to open it. You'll want to hold it in one hand, and with your free hand, you'll swing these top arms slowly towards the front of the drone. Now, one thing I want to caution you about, these arms are spring-loaded, and when you get to about here in the travel, they're going to want to snap all the way open on their own. Don't let them do that, because when they get to that pivot point, they're going to develop kinetic energy as they're flying towards the front of the drone. And the danger there is when they hit their end of travel, all that energy that's been developed while it's moving has to be dissipated somewhere, and it's going to travel up this arm right into the hinge assembly and break that hinge over time. So I know you're anxious to get flying, but always hold this through the end of travel. You get a lot more use out of your drone. To open the bottom arms, put your hand on the top and flip it over. Notice how I'm keeping two hands on the drone and then sliding this hand around. I've seen some pilots toss it between hands to open it up, but I've also seen other pilots drop the drone when they do that and crack the camera. So always keep a hand on the drone. And once you've got it in the hand firmly, use your other hand to open these bottom arms. You'll swing them down and towards you, and that's pretty much all you have to do. Now, since I've got it upside down, let's take a look at some of the sensors and other things on the bottom. The first thing you'll notice is probably this ribbed assembly down here. That's actually an integrated heat sink to keep the electronics behind here at a comfortable temperature. It'll dissipate a lot of that heat, and this is warm during operation, and that's normal. You'll find two optical sensors there and two digital sensors back here. All of these help the drone understand clearly where it is relative to the ground, so it keeps it off the ground. These two in particular are important because they're optical sensors, and they're actually taking a picture of the landing zone when you first take off, and that'll help find the return to home point, because when you trigger return to home or the drone does it automatically, it's going to fly back using GPS to find its general position of where it took off. But when it gets close to that, it's using the picture it took off and comparing it to what it sees through these sensors to find the exact point it took off. So it'll land almost exactly where it took off, and those two help with that. These two are used when it's closer to the ground. They're time of flight sensors. They're digital infrared sensors that let it know, okay, I'm really close to the ground at this point, where these guys aren't as accurate. Since we're talking about sensors, let's look on the back. There are two more optical sensors here that'll help it keep it from backing into things. On the front, you've got two sensors in the front that keep it from running into a tree. And then you've got two sensors right here that are really good for keeping it from sort of banging into something going up. But these are also really important when you're flying in sport mode, because as I mentioned before, these are great if you're flying level, but you're not normally flying level. You're normally in sport mode flying at an angle like this. So when you're flying at an angle, these guys will be facing forward, and they'll give you a lot more coverage of anything in front of you to help you avoid that. But remember, you've got two here, two here, two here, and two on the bottom, which means this drone is really processing a lot of information to keep it out of harm's way. All right, so on the top of the drone, you'll find the battery. The way you remove that, hold the drone, push these two little ears on the side, it'll pop out. These ears have clips on the side, which marry up with a set of dents over here. The other thing is, they've actually built in a sensing system. You'll notice these are metal. If you look closely inside there, you'll see two little contacts. When you push this down and click it into the drone, those not only hold it in the drone, but they actually make contact between those 2 points down there and let the drone know the battery's fully seated, and that's super important. All right, on the side of the drone, on this side, you'll find a little door you can open up. That's where the micro SD card goes. The unit has 8 gigs of storage internally, but you can also add a 256 gigabyte micro SD card right there. Just pop the card in, make sure you close this door so you keep it weatherproof. On the other side, you'll find another little door. If you pop that one open, you'll see a USB-C connection, and that can be used to transfer files from the drone to your computer. You'll connect up either the included cable or any USB-C to USB-A cable to your computer, and you can move the files from the microSD card as well as the internal storage. Now for me, I pull the microSD card out, I use a card reader and I plug it into my computer. It's a faster way to transfer those files, but you can certainly use this to transfer all the files over. You'll also find ventilation slots on the side and on the back to keep the drone cool. Let's see what else I want to talk about. Let's take a look at the front. Let's look at the camera actually next. Now the way you pull this camera gimbal guard off is you'll put your finger here and slowly crank it this way, and you'll hear a click, which is kind of unsettling at first, but you'll pull that, it slides right off the front, and there's that beautiful 1-inch sensor. Now, again, this is a 3-axis stabilized gimbal, so you can see it turns this way, and it also moves this way, which means when this thing's flying in the air, you're going to get a rock-solid picture because the gimbal is going to compensate for any movement of the drone in the air. So if it's getting buffeted by the wind, this is moving to counteract that because it's using the IMU inside to know that I'm moving around, and it's going to move the gimbal in a counter position to keep it rock solid. So pretty cool. And to put this back on, just make sure the camera's facing forward. You'll tuck these two in the front, then slowly close this on top. Whoop, I flipped it up. See, again, it's a bit of a technique, but you'll get it after a while. So you make sure those 2 feet are in the front, and once you get that in, there you go. Closed nice and good. I wish I got that the first try, but trust me, it's going to take you a little while to get good at that. All right, so next are the propellers. I'd mentioned before there's 2 different propellers. You see one's got an orange ring on it, one doesn't. You can see 2 motors have orange on them, 2 don't. You want to make sure you marry up the ring with the motor with the orange on it. And the way you put that on is you basically hold the motor, you'll slide the propeller down and twist the motor, and it twist locks on, so that's going to stay on there. And it's the same for the other one. You'll basically put it over the shaft, find the slot where it fits down, push down, twist that, and it stays on there. The other thing that's curious is you'll notice these 2 are the same propellers, and these 2 are the same. And again, it's physics in action because you need counterbalancing torque to keep this thing in the air. So if you take all the propellers off and forget where they go, just remember that the opposing propellers have to be the same style. Because I promise you, if you get these on wrong, the first thing the drone's going to do when you try to take off is do this action, like that. And that'll be a good clue that you got the propellers on wrong. And that's pretty much it for the drone. The new DJI Air 2S features a professional 1-inch CMOS sensor that can deliver incredible 5.4K footage as well as crisp 20 megapixel raw images through the use of its 3-axis stabilized gimbal. A large 88-degree field of view helps you capture nice wide landscape shots without distortion. The Air 2S also allows you to zoom up to 4 times while recording 4K content and up to 6 times in 1080p mode, so you'll never miss a detail. The drone includes the latest OcuSync 3.0 transmission technology that ensures a rock-solid connection up to 12 kilometers away, but should always be flown only as far as you can maintain a visual line of sight of the drone. The Air 2S also features an updated advanced pilot assistance system that allows you to fly worry-free while a drone navigates difficult terrain. The drone also includes obstacle avoidance sensors in all 4 directions to further increase its safety around hazards. An onboard ADS-B system will alert you of any approaching aircraft so you can adjust your flight as needed to avoid any mishaps. Now that you know what's included in the Fly More Combo Kit, and we've taken a closer look at the drone and all the major components so you understand how they work together, and I've listed the specifications, in this last section, I'd like to point out some of the things that the Air 2S brings to the market that you won't find in any other drone today, and what really makes this a technologically advanced product. Now, for simple comparisons, I have the Mavic Air 2 here and the Air 2S in front of me. And at first glance, these two look almost identical. Matter of fact, if you stood back 30 feet and left the gimbal covers on, you might have a hard time telling the difference between them. But don't let what's outside fool you. It's really what's inside that matters, because some people are going to look at this and think, boy, those DJI engineers got really lazy. They just basically took the Mavic Air 2, put a bigger camera on it, and added a couple of sensors. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is you can't just slap a 1-inch sensor on a drone like this and expect it to work, because the 1-inch sensor is going to capture a ton more information, and that information has to get back to the video processor, and the video processor has to be able to handle it. So what they've done is improve pretty much every aspect of that. So 1/2-inch sensor here, 1-inch sensor here, The speed back to that processor, 120 megabits a second here, 150 megabits a second over here. So the information's being gathered and sent back to the video processor as quickly as possible, and then it's processing that information and moving it along to the micro SD card. The other thing is, just adding 2 sensors on the top seems like a simple thing. Like, how much work could that be? It's a ton of work. The processor inside there now has to pay attention to more information coming in, and it's got to try and avoid stuff. So it's got a bunch of sensors that it has to keep track of and look for gaps between all the solid objects. So adding those 2 sensors means that poor little CPU inside there is working overtime. So you've got to beef up that CPU. Another question you're going to have, I'm sure, is that the Mavic Air 2 flew 34 minutes. That's really impressive. This one flies 31 minutes. Why does it fly less? Why doesn't it fly the same or more? Well, all the things I just mentioned draw more electricity out of that battery. They're drinking electrons, so a beefier processor, a faster speed back, the extra sensors, the CPU power that's required to handle that, the heavier camera, all of that adds up to less flight time. But to be honest with you, you're splitting hairs there because 34 minutes, I'm bringing it back with 10 or 15% left in the battery. I'll do it over here. So in real world terms, I think we're talking less than a minute worth of airtime, and I'm totally fine for that, getting a bigger picture on the front. All right, so some of the other cool things they've improved, it's O3, which is the OcuSync 3, this is OcuSync 2, and that's on the video only, like I mentioned earlier. So it's interesting to me that the video feedback went from 720p live feed to 1080p, which is great because you're getting better clarification of what you're flying around, but it's because of that O3 transmission technology, but the actual telemetry and control of the drone is still being done over OcuSync 2. So again, I think what they're trying to do here is give you an advantage with this. I mentioned in one of the clips I did before, I wouldn't be shocked if you could use this with the FPV goggles. I haven't tested it yet. That's the first thing I'm going to test when I get it outside. But if the video feed's coming back over O3 and the goggles are on O3, I should be able to say video feed in the goggles. I love the fact that they left the control and telemetry on OcuSync 2 because it means my smart controller, which is OcuSync 2 as well, should have the same matching technology. So wouldn't it be cool if I could fly it with my smart controller, put the goggles on, and have an FPV experience with this drone? Anyway, we'll see where that turns out. All right, so distance-wise, the O3 does give you a little longer distance. You're going from 10 kilometers over here, about 6 miles, to 12 kilometers over here, about 7.5 miles. That's pretty cool. Another thing they built in was the technology for crash avoidance, right? We call it A.P.A.S. They're now in A.P.A.S 4, which means it's going to avoid trees. So if you're flying in a heavily wooded area or flying around things, when you put this in autonomous mode, you want to make sure that drone is smart enough to notice a solid object versus an open space. And by having the extra sensors and using the new technology, which is software, the A.P.A.S software, it's going to be smarter. Now, how does it compare to other autonomous drones in the market? I don't know. I haven't flown it yet, but I promise you, I've got a series of clips coming where I'm going to compare it to other drones that fly autonomously. I'm going to compare it to the Mavic Air 2 so you can see the difference between them, as well as the Mini 2 so you get a better idea how it goes. But as far as the obstacle avoidance goes, I think those 2 extra sensors on the top are super critical because, again, when you're flying this direction fast, you're not flying level, you're flying like this. And these 2 sensors are facing the ground. So again, they have a field of view that extends up, but having these 2 sensors on the top means when I'm ducking down like this, flying extremely fast, these guys have a perfect view in front of me, so that's going to save you a lot of trouble. All right, the other thing I want to talk about is sort of the technology, because they build on a lot of, they used to call them quick shots, now they're calling them master shots, where it's going to do a lot of things autonomously for you. And I think the intent there is to build a drone, which is a flying camera, that's a smart robot up in the air. Because even though I love flying this thing, there are times where I'm doing something where I want it to autonomously follow me, whether I'm on a bike, I'm in a car, I'm on a surfboard, whatever it happens to be. So with the master shots, there's a couple of different modes here, and I'll go into greater detail in a later clip, but those different modes allow you to just basically select one of those modes, put the drone up, let the drone do its thing and focus on you, and you can go about your business, and the drone's going to keep track of you and do a really good job, and then sew that together in a clip that you can post pretty quickly to social media. So those are the major differences between them. I promise you I've got a lot of clips coming where I compare the two and show you what works between the two. One key thing is these batteries are the same. So the batteries work in both drones. So if you're a Mavic Air 2 guy, the drone works just fine. The battery works just fine between the drones. So I'm going to spend some time talking about some of the other features and functions on it as well. But that's basically it. And I really appreciate you watching. I know this is a longer clip than many, but I wanted to make sure you got all the information you need because I know it's springtime. Everybody's thinking about drones. It's like the time we get our drones and get out there. This is a brand new drone right in time for that flying season. So I hope I gave you enough information to decide whether this one's right for you, this one's right for you, Mini 2's right for you. And I've got other clips coming that'll help you with that as well. So thanks an awful lot for watching. If you need accessories for these drones, as I say every time, we've got them on our website. There's a link below to that. If you decide you want to buy the Air 2S or any of the DJI drones, I've got a link below for that. If you use that link, you're supporting the channel. We appreciate that tremendously. I also want to thank you for the gigantic increase in subscribers over the last couple of months. Seems like a lot of people people are finding the channel and enjoying the content. I promise you, I have so much cool content coming on drones and other high-tech gear that you're definitely going to want to stop back. So if you haven't subscribed, hit that button down there and join the Drone Valley family, because we got a lot of cool stuff coming and tons of giveaways. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy flying.